Hello, welcome to the Meeting 10, a program dedicated to the work of Stan Tenen. Today we're going to go through some of the words or several words and show how hand gesture express the meanings of those words. But before we start, let's introduce our usual cast of characters: Michael Andron, Levanah Tenen, and Daniel Gill. So we've kind of reviewed a lot of information. If you haven't seen any of the previous programs, it might be interesting at least to see the last one we did. But what we're going to do is we've established that each letter has a meaning and can be expressed in a specific gesture that mirrors that meaning. But those are just letters. If we put them together as a word, or even the letters themselves are a combination of letters. So for example, the letter bait is a combination of bait, yud, and tav. And then we can look at that and see, what does that tell us? But Daniel has worked on a few of those, and he's going to show us a few. And then if anybody else wants to discuss this concept of now going beyond just the letters themselves and forming words, and even beyond that, as a form of communication. Before we do that, last time we showed various examples of the hand model. So Levanah, you have one that we didn't show last time.
I forgot to show it. Pool noodles.
So
Very, you know, at one point, Stanley just saw these in a store and said, "Oh," and so we've got several of these. This one happens to be movable. Some of the others I have aren't, but hey, you know, they're very malleable, and yet you can. There are certain kinds of pool noodles that you can do it with. This one, you know, you can move it, but it stays where you put it. So.
And Michael, you pointed out, well, let's make a whole body one, you know, as a float.
Yeah, we make it as a float, and kids could swim inside the alphabet.
That's right.
Fantastic.
So just show you there's no limit to the possibilities in terms of the hand mount. And then Levanah, you have one over your right shoulder in the back.
Yeah. This is also, if you see the orange light and then there's a purple thingy hanging from it, that is a much larger version, again, made with a pool noodle.
Oh,
I
there's
have
something
a
else.
question. When the shadows were created, was the light always in the same place? Like there was a set light, and then he would move
a flashlight?
the model?
No,
to create the shadow. How did he create the shadows that were the
shadowgram? Okay, hold on one second here. There was actually a device that he created. This was, again, before he knew it was, he figured it was a hand model. This is a device that he made, by which he could rotate, which he rotated, and then in this case, what he actually did was I don't have this placed properly, you're just gonna have to use your imagination.
And where was the light? Underneath?
I think it went this way, but I don't think it really matters, because obviously this is malleable as well.
Right.
It was an evolving process, and let me see if I can think of it. I think that it was that he basically aimed this, or aimed a TV camera, and then took a look at the monitor. He had several different ways of trying, but again, I keep coming back to the fact that, don't get distracted by the idea of holding an external model and shining a light through it to make shadows, because in terms of the direction that Stanley was intending to go, that was useful but preliminary, and it missed the important point of having our own personal consciousness be at the center, and that's where the viewpoint is.
So when we manufacture the hand model, and you folks out there all get your own copy of the hand model, we'll refer to that, and you can, you can show all your friends, but we want to make sure that that's, we're not turning this into some kind of, hippy dippy,
No woo woo, please.
no woo woo. That's a good way of expressing it. By the way, I got to divert to one other thing. Last week, we showed Stan doing the hand gesture from a video called Dance of the Hebrew Letters. And people are going to watch that. And we've already, there's been inquiries over the years. Levanah, what is that thing that's flying over his head?
Oh, yes.
What is that thing?
All right. Well, here you get a little story about what Stanley was like as a person. He was an inventor, a gadget guy, a very creative guy who saw things. At one point, somebody gave us a plant that also had this little styrofoam duck. Well, the plant died. But what are we going to do? Toss out a little styrofoam duck? So, okay, we kept the duck. Still have it, by the way. And we moved from where we had been living, where the plant died, to a different place that had a living room with a very high ceiling. And one day, Stanley came up and sort of, looked at the ceiling and looked at the duck and said, "Oh, a duck's gotta fly." So, a couple of days he spent, I didn't see him for like a day and a half. And then he came up with I forget what you call it, but a thing, that goes around and around, that hung from the ceiling, was counterweighted. One end was the counterweight, and the other end was a little balsa wood airplane with a little seat, crafted exactly to match the proportions of the little duck. For years, as long as we lived in that house, the duck flew around and around and around constantly because he was battery powered. He didn't depend on, the PG&E. Just around and around. At one point, it's so funny. We at one point were good friends with a very Orthodox rabbi who used to come to the United States to, every year, basically to make enough money to live on for the rest of the year in Israel. And so he would teach classes. And one of the places one year where he taught was in our living room, and he used to stay with us. And I remember people were sitting in the living room, and he was teaching, the ducky was flying, and he was a very gesticulative person, and he went, and hit the duck, and he automatically went, "Oh, I'm sorry." That's the kind,
He certainly should be.
Creating a space for that kind of magic.
Well, okay, now what was the name? You had a name for that duck.
Well, his name is Ducky.
No, I thought you had a.
Oh, Alexander the Duck?
Alexander the Duck.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that story. It's a little trivia, Stan Tenen Trivia, and there's a lot more to go with that.
Oh, there's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah. Back to the topic. So Daniel.
Yeah.
Do you have any prime words that you can show us using the gestures that enhance the meaning of those words, gestures?
Sure. Yeah. So, one of the things that's neat about this is you can take you can take a kind of something esoteric and then find your own meaning to it. That really works. That's, I think, one of the beauties of it. So we're going to take the esoteric word, which is raz, which means secret.
Which letters?
Resh Zion. So
Okay.
secret,
Mhm.
right? So often called Razei Torah is another way people refer to Kabbalah, but of an even deeper level than just the theoretical or something. So we have Resh, right? It should be higher, Resh, right? But I'm ghosting, so I'll bring it in. So Resh, and then Zion. It's kind of projecting out, right? So from Resh. So what's interesting is if I said, yeah, you might even make that when you say, yeah, I'm taking a deep dive, it's
Right.
I'm diving, right? I'm diving in. I'm just going to dive right in. I mean, I might do that, as a gesture. I'm diving in. So secrets happen. There's the teaching that's really fascinating. Secrets, you learn secrets by diving in deep to something.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily even matter what that thing is. Like when you dive deep into a subject matter, if you're self-aware, you'll learn secrets of the universe. Right? So that's Raz. Now let's do something interesting with Raz. Let's put another letter in the middle. Rachaz or Rakaz. Lehitrakez means to like concentrate, right? In modern Hebrew. Right. So Raz is diving in, like Zion is projecting. But again, what's interesting about projection is that, like many things in the Hebrew language, projection externally doesn't mean projection externally. It just means projection, which can be in any direction you want. So projecting. So Resh, Zion, you're like diving in, you're taking your mind and diving into something or projecting inward, or even outward, but that's also inward. So then if you say Resh, Chaf, Zion, right? So what's interesting about that, if I work through it for a second, you have Resh, which is again like this, it's the power of your mind, your head, right? And you turn your head just a little bit, like, right, your regular head is this way, right? But to concentrate, you have to kind of turn your head a little bit. You have to hold that. You have to hold your head, and then you also dive in, right? That's concentration, right?
Okay.
And so hidden within a three-letter word, a three-letter root is actually the two outside letters are another word. And so you can kind of see an interesting way that the Hebrew language may have been constructed, or how it works, right? So from Raz to Rakez, right? It's just a slight difference of the meaning of the word, which is to dive into something. And it's to really focus inwards on something. But what a way to get there is by taking your Rosh, holding it, and then diving in, meaning focus on concentration. And and obviously what's fascinating about that teaching is that like anyone, if you've studied anything, that's how it goes. In order to get to the point where you're diving into something, you have to hold it too. You have to have really good powers of concentration and higher levels of, yeah.
Interesting, Jess. I haven't seen that before. I like it, and it just occurred to me that when I'm taking a class, particularly when I'm taking a class that's focused on Hasidus or Kabbalah or something, and I'm thinking about it, and I always go like this. I always go like this. It's just I don't think about
We've
doing
noticed that
Resh.
that on this program.
Wow,
If
that's
you look
awesome.
at Levanah on the program.
it.
she's
And I can feel the focus in my head. It's like I'm sending the ideas to some particular place and thinking where I can think about them.
Wow.
It's really interesting. That's really interesting. I like that.
if you take the one that you just did, Dan, realize that in Rakez, the Resh Kaf Zayin, 2 out of the 3 letters are the ones that we mentioned a couple of sessions ago with Baruch.
Yeah.
And the bet is just ready to receive, so that we're starting out. Then we go exactly through what you just did and extend it. We're saying, okay, this is what you need to do to find the secret. But first you have to be ready to receive it. You can't just jump in with analytic left brain kind of thinking. You have to open up to that. So it kind of adds one more letter to our combination there.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's the, I mean, there is a concept of hands-on learning or project-based learning, which is something I'm very passionate about. And so what's neat about, and this relates directly to the study of Kabbalah and the study of secrets, is, you know, if you want to do it, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, the truth is, the best preparation is no preparation. Just jump in. Just dive right in. Trust me, you'll learn. Actually, that's how they used to teach in some places. My dad was taught to swim that way.
Throw them in the pool. Yeah.
Go ahead. Dive right in. You
Swim
figure
or
out,
drown.
figure
Swim
out
or
naturally.
drown.
You figure, I mean, that's a little harsh, but the idea is that you actually, you have, that's the neat thing, is that you have an internal knowledge that you need to, you don't need preparation for, but that you need to still learn with, you know? So if you have a propensity for art or music or writing or whatever it is, once you dive in, once you say, you know, I'm just doing it, you'll be bombarded with, oh my God, there's all this stuff I have to learn. And it's really real and you got to really go through it. But if you don't take that first na'aseh v'nishma, that first I will do, and then I'll understand, right? So the truth is, again, that just jumping in. And then maybe you get the, you know, that's the rekev, you know, the rachav, the rakevet, the train, you know, the merkava, right? Is the resh, right? Chaf, right? Beit, right? That's the thing. All of a sudden you go, well, okay, I've got I'm going to learn to concentrate, and then wow, I've got a lot to learn.
I'm going to show Stan doing another example.
And if I'm Christopher Columbus and I ask you to get me something like this, would someone like to say what kind of thing I want? An adjective, maybe? Something that is? Anybody? For the tape, come on. Apple is good. Round? Round's obviously round. Yeah, this is the Hebrew letter Gimel, for those who know Hebrew. And this is the Hebrew letter Lamed, that's the doorbell. Gimel Lamed spells round. That's the root for the word round. If I'm a traffic cop and I do this, everyone knows I mean come towards me. Beit, Aleph, Lamed, Yud means come towards me.
Okay, let's try something.
Anyway,
Daniel, you know all the gestures?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty good at them. I mean, whatever.
Let me see a shin. Now a bait. Now a tav. Okay, that's Shabbat.
Wow. Huh. Wow. Wow. Huh.
Because, you know, and if you go through the meaning, you know, a shin is to shine, you know, bait is house, the contrast between inside and outside, and tav is in itself, which is what you're doing. You're sitting.
Sitting within yourself, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which fits
and so
you spoke about last week.
Right.
About the inside being bigger than the outside, but that's what it's about. It's
wow.
The inside.
Wow, Shabbat. Wow, that's amazing.
You know, I'm sorry we didn't spend more time doing this with Stan when he could have done this. You know, he called a lot of these ideas a geometric metaphor. In other words, he could take a concept like Shabbat and show how the meaning, could be expressed in that way. And I said, we got to do this. We got to sit down and go through all the different liturgy and the different customs and holidays and everything in the Jewish calendar. So we never did it, and so again, put that on the list. But we're just giving do you have another one, Daniel, that you can share with us?
Daniel, would you do the gestures for the word echad, the last word of the Shema?
Good one.
Yeah, it's hard to do because I'm not standing up, but I'll try. It's like
Okay. Can you just sit up straight? I just want to be able to see what your hands are.
yeah,
Where
let's see.
your
And
hands
then,
are.
right, it would
The
be,
chet.
let's see, echad, chet. And it's hard to see. I guess I could stand. Let's see. It'd be kind of like,
Yeah.
well, it's gonna be difficult, but yeah, no, it's not working. But it's like
I like the way you disappear, though.
And then chet. I don't. And then I think is it here or is it dalet is here, right?
Dalet is like this.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so it's like it,
Fingers pouring down, Michael.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
fingers
this.
down.
Yeah. So
Okay, and that's the one that
Pouring out.
That's the one that he had pouring. Yeah,
Pouring out.
right.
right.
Okay, so if you take that idea, okay, you're starting with a singular spark in the divine soul, and you're coming through an archway, a gate, because chet, he talks about it as a fenced field, but that's also an archway. In other words, you go inside the fence or outside the fence. Remember, somebody once said to me about what you talked about in the last session, where you said with Shabbat, it was keeping stuff out. Somebody said to me, they said, well, what do you do on Shabbat? And I said, this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. She says, well, I feel fenced in. I said, no, I'm fencing the world out so that I'm inside. But chet, when it's written by a sofer on the Torah, is a vav and a zayin, which, as I recall, is something like out and forward, put together. There's a vav next to a zayin and a little, like a little upward arrow that joins them together. And so it becomes a gateway. So from the inside, you go through the gateway, and having gone through that gate, you come to Dalet, which is the four worlds. In other words, the spiritual
Dalet is also a
and
door.
pouring.
It's also a door.
Yes, right. Delet is a door. So you have a gateway, you have a door into the four universal world, and where the gesture puts it is saying, do the Dalet again.
Oh, it's like this. Yeah.
Yeah. The
pouring down.
Dalet is
Pouring down.
is all that. When you've gone through that gate and you've gone through that door, all of the light of the supernal worlds pours down and pours down into your world. And so it all becomes one. In other words, that which I have inside me and then going through the gate is very spatial. It's not internal, but at a certain point, it all pours down and comes together, which is what the word echad means. It means one.
And also it makes echad a verb, which is what we want. We want this, we're talking about action, constant. These are not nouns. These are not, echad is not a thing. It's a process. It's always moving. It's always acting in the world. You see how much fun this is? How much fun we could have with this, and we need to pursue it. Yeah.
If you think of the olive less as your own solar plexus, but the idea of the infinite source.
So the singularity to the multiplicity. No? Yes?
Kind of. I'm not finding the right word for it, but it's all Aleph is go back to Ein Sof. It's
well, but that's a singularity. The
Yeah,
Ein Sof is the
yeah.
singularity before the multiplicity.
Mhm.
When you did shave before, as you were doing Shabbat,
Yeah.
the word shave by itself, shave means to sit. So you're going
Yeah.
from here and you're coming down to here. It's like you're saying, okay, there's that infinite light coming down and it's spreading into this world. And one of the deeper meanings from Nachman of Bratslav for Shabbat and Yoshev, sitting without the tuf at the end, which is the last letter and therefore the world of multiplicity, is that sitting is Lashon Akava. It means it's a way of saying for a long time. It's not just sitting on your chair. It's meditating. It's sitting for a long time. And hence the word tshuva, repentance, is also turning. We're turning
Mhm.
from one place by sitting for a long time. That's what it says about Abraham. Yoshev petach ha'ohel, he's sitting at the opening of the tent. And Mordechai, Yoshev b'sha'ar HaMelech, he's sitting at the gate of the king.
Mhm.
So shave means sitting for a long time. And sitting in the taf at the end of the word Shabbat is like, in the world of multiplicity on Shabbat, there is a meditative energy to it, and you're showing it through the hands.
Mhm.
through
That's
the gestures.
actually a point that Stanley, over the years, made very frequently. When I'm sure it's on one of the videos someplace, and probably on several of them, where he would say it was that the meaning is roughly to sit within yourself. If you take it letter by letter by letter. And within yourself, not meaning within your ego, but just to sit quietly. The letter Tav is one of what he would call the reflexive letters. It's like within yourself. It's to reflect this way. That's another thing that to communicate that there were several letters which he considered to be mirroring in different ways. And again, that involves a chart I don't have in front of me. Tough was one of them. Vav is another. Basically, Vav, pin, spin, spine. I think that is also, there's a selection of those things that's included in the book, I think. And there was one other which I can't focus on at the moment, but bringing it back to Shabbat and Taf, that it's within oneself, it's reflexive, it's like this.
Can you raise your hands up or lower your screen down? I'm missing what your hands are doing.
Yeah, you can lower your screen down a little. You have a lot of headroom there, Levanah. Yeah,
Okay, I'm trying to think. Well,
on your computer.
Daniel, Tov, do it.
Daniel, do the top again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the thumb is facing back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is it's a great game once everybody knows it.
Right.
What's going to happen when everybody has a model, which is going to happen when we raise enough money to create these.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. No, it's unbelievable. It's really astounding because you kind of get, if you focus in on the letters, you get ideas that are both universal and specific to what you need, like at the same time. It's
And
unbelievable.
as Stan pointed out, the words that he chose or the meanings that he chose were only a sampling. And that,
Yeah, I've done it with Tehillim
there was-
before. Yeah.
yeah, no, you can do it
Amazing.
with his meanings, but if you know some other, like out of that Aleph Bet book that we mentioned before, the Hebrew alphabet, you can say, oh, this letter also has this meaning. And if that were the meaning for this, that would give you another lesson of Shabbat
That's
or
right.
another lesson of Echad
Yeah.
or Raz.
And another way that Stan would choose or refine the ideas of meanings of particular words in particular context, he started exploring it at one point, the relationship, the letters in relationship to their position in the alphabet, and which letters were opposite to each other or above and below each other. We we explored that a little bit when we were talking about the 27-letter alphabet as 3 layers of 9 each, and that on each level was a different level, a different depth of basically the same idea, but expressed in different realms. So that was only one of several different ways that he discovered of looking at the meanings of letters and choosing them as they related to each other in particular formats.
From the sublime to the ridiculous, I will tell you that a child looking at the letters will see something different. When we were kids learning the alphabet in school, our teacher said to remember that it's kuf resh shin taf at the end of the alphabet. Just spell out the word crashed. And then somebody came up and said, doesn't it also spell corset? So,
well, that binds you
see
in.
what
Right.
happened? Yeah, we're not digging deeper. We're digging more shallow. It's from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Oh, that's
Hey,
great.
You notice that Daniel didn't need to hold the hand model to demonstrate the alphabet. But when you have the model in your hand,
Yeah, oh, I should.
there's something about having the feeling of having the model in your hand, and then taking it off the hand and then looking at it and rotating it. There's something when you put this on, you know, it just gives, you know, and Michael teaches about, you know, the hand and getting the energy that you get from your hand. And so when you touch it, and tefillin is a good example, it gives you another dynamic.
And remember, we talked about this. I don't know if we did it on tape, but I know we had the discussion that Dr. Boharich, who is somebody that Stan was aware of, who was a medical doctor and a researcher of healing and paranormal phenomena, and he would work inside of a Faraday cage to screen out electromagnetic signals to increase the thing he was studying, discovered that because I asked him about it, I said, what happens when you put on tefillin? He says, let's bring it into the Faraday cage and see if it changes the energy of the person. And we put out all kinds of random frequencies of extremely low frequency magnetic fields, ELF. And inside of the Faraday cage, we discovered that the tefillin created almost a force field around the person wearing them that resonated at 8 hertz, which is the beat of the earth, which is the same frequency that all healers use when they go into a healing trance, no matter what kind of healing they do.
Wow.
And we then felt, and I said, well, but that's on me. Maybe I'm generating the energy. So we got somebody who wasn't Jewish and didn't know anything about any of it. And it worked on him too. And then, not to be sexist in any way, we took water from a mikvah, a ritual bath, which is more of a commandment for women, as the tefillin are more for men, although both can do both and do. And the water from a mikvah, when we measured it, was at 8 hertz, unlike tap water or something random. So there was an actual physical manifestation of the wrapping of the tefillin. So it doesn't surprise me at all that as you wrap yourself into a universal gesture, that you will anchor yourself in a mindset.
An Inyan, we could call it also. It's a device, and it links the 3-dimensional world with our inner selves. There's an interesting story that Stan told on one of the presentations, because when you look at the shape, you know, you see many things when, you know, as I turn it around. I love this story about in his early days, one of his early presentations, at the end of the presentation, this elderly woman raised her hand and said, Stan, are you telling us that they had this form in the ancient world. And Stan says, oh yeah. And so he picked up a shofar. There it is, right there. There it is.
Wow.
They had it. They had it. So,
Huh. Wow, that's
you know,
awesome.
and so it, you know, and you look at asymmetrical, that was another big thing in terms of the asymmetry of this model. And when you look at our world, the man-made world is pretty symmetrical and the nature is asymmetrical. It's that relationship. So, and by the way, if you didn't see last week's or last episode, we did talk about the fact that we are working towards getting these made. There's a video on our channel that describes that. It's a short 5-minute video. I invite you all to watch it. And we are pushing ahead with the idea of having these manufactured and many other things too. In future episodes, I'm going to ask Levanah to have a little segment every time showing a model, a different model that Stan created, and just talking about it, because there are many more. There's many things to show that we can manufacture. Yeah, look at behind her.
Oh, I thought she was doing a letter.
Yeah, she was doing
No,
that.
no, it's just gesturing to my living room full of
But there's
models.
not, there's many other, you know, the light in the meeting tent model, there's the posters, there's the graphics. We can create things in virtual reality with these ideas. So there's a lot going on with this, and we invite people to partner with us in helping this come to fruition. So I'm going to end it for today. I think we had a really good session. Any other last comments anybody has? If not, we'll end it today and we'll see you all next time. Thanks for joining us. Take care.